I looked at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, my lips split, my nose bruised. Classic Parker. The guy used to be my best friend. Now he's turned into my own personal nightmare. I don't even remember when or how things got this bad. Merle walks in, spots the damage, and shakes his head. Dude, this is getting ridiculous. You should tell the dean. No way, I snap. It's fine. I can handle it. Merle gives me this look, half pity, half disbelief. Handle it? He's your friend? Doesn't look that way from where I'm standing. He turns to leave but pauses. You know he won't stop unless you do something. I stay silent, knowing he's right but not wanting to admit it. I leave the bathroom, feeling Parker's eyes on me the moment I step into the hallway. Him and his gang, watching, waiting for their next chance to humiliate me. I keep my head down, trying not to react. They don't need to say anything. The sneers and grins from his crew do all the talking. I used to know Parker. Hell, we were like brothers. Now, I can't recognize the guy. It's like he's out to break me. But I won't let him. At least that's what I keep telling myself. Lunch break. I'm heading toward the library, hoping to get a few minutes of peace. Parker's crew cuts me off at the back entrance, right by the dumpsters, classic spot for them to corner me. I stop, my stomach twisting, but I don't show it. They feed off fear. What do you want? Parker, I ask, my voice steady, though my heart's racing. Parker steps forward, towering over me, that same smug smirk plastered across his face. What's with the attitude, Adam? We're just here to talk. His voice is full of mockery, and his crew laughs on cue. I try to move past him, but his arm blocks my path. You're not going anywhere. And one of the guys, the one with the buzz cut, grabs my backpack and yanks it off my shoulder. I don't fight back, there's no point. It's not like I'll win this round. You know what we want, Parker says, stepping even closer, his breath hot on my face. A little dance for us like last time. I grit my teeth. Not this again. Not here, not now. The humiliation from last time still stings, and I'm not in the mood for another round. I'm not doing anything. Oh, you will, Parker says, his eyes glinting with a challenge. But before they can pull anything, a voice cuts through the air. Back off. Oof. I blink and turn. A guy I've never seen before, tall, broad-shouldered, and not the least bit intimidated, stands a few feet away. He's got this air of calm authority that makes Parker's gang pause, confused. And who the hell are you? Parker snaps, clearly not liking the interference. The guy's expression doesn't change. He steps closer, folding his arms, completely unfazed. Doesn't matter who I am. You heard me. Back off. Parker's face hardens, but there's something in the way the new guy holds himself that stops him from pushing it further. The moment stretches, tension thick between us all. Finally, Parker gives a half laugh, shoving me aside. Whatever. This ain't over, Adam. As they walk off, I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. The guy turns to me, his eyes sharp but not unkind. You all right? I nod, still thrown by how quickly everything shifted. Yeah, thanks. Who are you? Zach, new guy, he shrugs like it's nothing. Just don't like bullies. I nod again, unsure what to say. But one thing's for sure, things just got a whole lot more complicated. The next day, I'm back in my usual spot alone. I don't expect anyone to stick around after what happened. Zach was probably just being decent, doing the right thing. I don't owe him anything, and he doesn't owe me either. But when I step out of my last class, there he is, leaning against the lockers like he's been waiting for me. You good, he asks, like we're old friends or something. I hesitate. Yeah, thanks for yesterday. I don't really know how to handle this. No one's stuck their neck out for me before. Not like that. Zach just nods like it's no big deal. Parker's a piece of work. Huh. You could say that I glanced down the hallway, already feeling the usual weight of eyes on me. Parker's crew is around somewhere. Always is. Why don't you stand up to him? Zach asks, his voice casual, but there's a serious edge to it. I laugh, but there's no humor in it. You saw what happened. What am I supposed to do? Take a swing at him? Get beat up even worse. Zach frowns, studying me for a second. So it's not about fighting him, man. You don't have to do it alone. I look away, my pulse picking up. Yeah, well, I can't ask anyone to deal with that. Parker's not going to back down just because you showed up once. Zach straightens, stepping in front of me, blocking my path. I'm not just showing up once. You don't have to keep taking this crap. Let me help. I shake my head, stepping around him. I don't need anyone's help. The truth is, I'm scared. Scared of what Parker might do if I start pushing back, scared of dragging anyone else into this mess. Especially someone like Zach, he doesn't get it. It's not just about Parker bullying me, it's about everything we used to be. That history makes it all messier, and I can't let someone like Zach, who doesn't even know me, take that on. Look, I appreciate what you did, but you don't have to get involved, I say over my shoulder as I walk away. It's not your problem. I don't wait for his reply. The less people I get close to, the better. A few days pass and Parker's been laying low. That should give me some relief, but I know better. He's probably waiting for the right moment to strike again. I've been on edge, expecting something to happen, but nothing's come yet. I'm sitting alone in the cafeteria, half-heartedly poking at my food when Zach drops into the seat across from me like we've been friends forever. You avoiding me or just everyone? I sigh, barely looking up. I'm not avoiding you. I just Don't want to drag anyone else into this mess. He leans back, folding his arms. You're not dragging me into anything. I'm here because I want to be. I glance at him, surprised by how steady he sounds. Why, you don't even know me? Zach shrugs. I know enough. Parker's got a problem with you, and I don't like seeing people get screwed over by bullies. Simple as that. I shake my head. It's not that simple. It's complicated with him. I can feel my chest tighten. The weight of everything that's happened between Parker and me threatening to spill out. We used to be best friends? Zach doesn't react, just listens like he's waiting for me to explain. I rub the back of my neck, uncomfortable with how much I've already said. I don't expect you to get it. He didn't just flip out of nowhere. Something changed. I don't know what, but one day he just turned. And now this is my life. Zach leans forward, his eyes sharp but not accusing. You think you deserve it? The question hits me like a punch. I stare at him, not knowing how to answer. Do I? Did I screw something up so bad that Parker's justified in treating me like this? I don't know, I admit, my voice quieter. Maybe. Zach shakes his head. No one deserves that. Not from some guy who used to be your friend, and definitely not from anyone who thinks they can get away with it just because no one's stopping them. I don't say anything. He's making it sound easy, like I can just decide to stop this. But Parker's more than just some random bully. And this isn't a situation that can be fixed with a single punch or a stern word. Zach stands up, but before leaving, he looks at me. Look, I know you don't want anyone involved, but I'm not asking. I've got your back whether you like it or not. You don't have to do this alone. I watch him walk away, my stomach twisting with something I can't quite place, hope maybe, or fear. Either way, Zach's not like anyone I've met before. He's not just stepping in to play the hero. He genuinely believes I don't have to keep taking this. And maybe he's right. But that's a dangerous thought. The next few days are a blur of awkwardness. Zach keeps showing up, sitting next to me in class, joining me for lunch. He doesn't push me to talk, doesn't try to drag me into some grand plan to confront Parker. He just sticks around like a silent promise I never asked for. It's weird having someone like that in my corner. I've spent so long trying to keep everyone at arm's length even before Parker started making my life hell. Now, here's Zach, refusing to back off. We're leaving school one afternoon when I spot Parker and his crew hanging out by the parking lot, leaning against the wall like they own the place. I freeze for a second, instinctively scanning for an exit, but Zach's already noticed them. Ignore them, Zach mutters under his breath. But I can't. I feel Parker's eyes burning into me, daring me to do something, anything. His grin widens, and I know he's about to make a move. Parker steps forward, cutting me off before I can turn away. Look who it is, he sneers. You got a new bodyguard now, Adam. What happened couldn't handle me on your own. Zach steps forward, his posture calm but ready, like he's dealt with guys like Parker before. Walk away, Parker, he says, his voice low but full of authority. This doesn't need to happen. Parker laughs, but there's something forced about it. I can see the way his gaze flicks to Zach, measuring him. Or what? You gonna fight me, new guy? This isn't your fight. Zach's eyes narrow. Maybe not, but I'm here now. Parker takes another step forward, his smirk fading. You really think you can stop me? I can feel the tension rising, the way Parker's crew is waiting for the green light to jump in, and here I am, standing like an idiot, watching two people fight over a mess I let happen. My heart's pounding, and the words are out of my mouth before I even realize I've said them. Stop. Both Zach and Parker turn to look at me, and I can feel my pulse in my throat. I force myself to take a step forward. Parker, this has gone on long enough. Whatever this is, whatever you think I did, it's over. His face hardens, and for a second I think he's going to hit me. Instead, he just stares at me like I've said something ridiculous. You don't get to decide when this is over, Adam. Zach moves closer, his eyes still locked on Parker. You heard him. It's over. Parker's lip curls, and he shoves past me, glaring at Zach as he does. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. As Parker and his crew walk away, my legs feel like jelly. I'm standing there, stunned, trying to process what just happened. I actually stood up to Parker. It wasn't much, but it was something. Zach looks over at me, his expression softer now. You okay? I nod, still trying to catch my breath. Yeah, I think so. You did good, Zach says quietly, and there's something in his voice that makes my chest tighten in a way I didn't expect. You don't have to keep running? I meet his eyes, and for the first time in a long time, I believe him. Maybe this isn't the end of Parker, but it's the first time I've pushed back. And with Zach standing beside me, I'm starting to think I might actually have a chance at making this stop for good. But there's something else too, something I can't quite shake, a flicker of something dangerous, a feeling that's been growing every time Zach's us around. I push it down, trying to ignore it. Now's not the time for distractions. Things seem quieter for a few days. Parker's not pulling his usual stunts. And for the first time in what feels like forever, I'm not constantly looking over my shoulder. Zach's still hanging around, always nearby but never pushing me to talk about what happened. I should feel relieved, but something about Parker's silence makes me uneasy. I'm at my locker between classes when I hear footsteps behind me. I turn, expecting the usual smirk on Parker's face, but it's Merle. He looks at me, eyes flicking around nervously. You hear what Parker's planning. No, I mutter, feeling the tension crawl up my spine. What now? Merle leans in, lowering his voice. He's been talking with his crew. I don't know what they're planning, but it sounds bad. They're pissed you stood up to him the other day. Of course they are. I feel the dread settling in my stomach, a familiar weight that never quite leaves. Great, I say, slamming my locker shut. More to look forward to. Merle hesitates. Maybe you should stay out of his way for a bit. Let things cool down. I shake my head, anger bubbling up beneath the surface. I can't keep running from him. Merle, if I back off now, it'll just get worse. Before Merle can say anything else, Zach appears beside me, casual as always. What's going on? Merle gives him a quick nod, then glances at me like he's not sure if he should say more in front of Zach. I roll my eyes. Parker's planning something. Again, Zach's jaw tightens, but his voice stays calm. Then we deal with it. I scoff, crossing my arms. This isn't your fight, Zach? He doesn't back down, his gaze steady. I told you, I'm not letting this go. Whatever Parker's planning, we'll handle it together. I want to argue, to tell him he doesn't understand what Parker's capable of, but before I can, the bell rings. Merle shoots me a worried look before hurrying off to class. Zach stays behind, his eyes on me. You sure you're okay? I let out a frustrated breath, leaning against the lockers. No, Zach, I'm not okay. Parker's out to make my life hell, and I don't know how to stop him. I'm tired of being afraid. He steps closer, and for a second the hallway feels too quiet, too intimate. You don't have to be afraid anymore, Adam. I've got your back. His words hit me harder than I expected, and I look away, trying to keep the mix of emotions swirling inside from spilling out. Why, I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Why do you care so much? Zach pauses, his expression unreadable. Maybe I know what it's like to feel alone. Maybe I don't want to see someone go through that when they don't have to. I meet his eyes, and there's something there, something I didn't expect, something deeper than just wanting to protect me from Parker. But before I can even process what it means, I hear laughter echoing from down the hall. Parker. Bosh. He's leaning against the wall with his crew, watching us, a sly grin on his face. My blood runs cold. Whatever he's planning, it's coming soon. Zach follows my gaze, his expression hardening. Let him try, he says quietly. We'll be ready. I nod, but the tension between us is still there, unspoken but impossible to ignore. Parker's the enemy, but Zach's becoming something else entirely, something I'm not ready to face. For now, all I can do is prepare for whatever's coming next. And with Zach by my side, I'm starting to believe we might just stand a chance. But I can't shake the feeling that things between us are about to get a lot more complicated. I barely make it through the day without falling apart. Every corner I turn, Parker's there lurking, watching. His silence feels worse than the usual taunts, like the calm before a storm I can't predict. By the time lunch rolls around, my nerves are shot. I sit at our usual table, pushing my food around, my appetite long gone. Zach's there, as always, sitting across from me, his presence steady and reassuring. But today, I can't shake the feeling that something's about to explode. He's up to something, I mutter, glancing around the cafeteria, my eyes constantly scanning for Parker. Zach doesn't look up from his sandwich, but I can tell he's tense too. Let him come. He's just bluffing. He doesn't bluff, I snap, more harshly than I intended. I drag a hand through my hair, frustration boiling over. He's planning something, and when he makes his move, it's not going to be pretty. Zach watches me for a moment, then leans forward, his voice low. Adam, look at me. I hesitate but force myself to meet his gaze. His eyes are calm, but there's something else there too, something intense. Something that makes my heart pound in ways I don't want to admit. You're stronger than you think, Zach says quietly. He wants you scared. He feeds off it, but he doesn't control you. I swallow hard, feeling the weight of his words settle in. It's not that easy, Zach. I didn't say it was easy, he replies, his gaze unwavering. But I'm with you in this. Whatever happens, we deal with it together. I open my mouth to respond, but the words catch in my throat. Before I can figure out what to say, a loud whistle pierces through the cafeteria. My heart sinks. Parker. He's standing on one of the cafeteria tables, his smug grin back in full force. His crew is scattered around, ready for whatever stunt he's about to pull. My stomach twists as everyone's attention shifts to him. The room goes quiet like the whole school's holding its breath. Parker's eyes lock onto me, and I know this is it. Whatever he's been planning, it's happening now. Hey, Adam, Parker shouts, his voice dripping with mockery. Got a minute. Zach tenses beside me, already starting to stand, but I grab his arm. No, I mutter, my voice shaking. This is mine. He looks at me, unsure, but I shake my head. I have to do this. Zach clenches his jaw but nods, stepping back. I push myself up from the table, my legs trembling as I cross the cafeteria. The crowd parts, whispering, eyes on me as I approach Parker. It feels like a walk to my own execution. Parker jumps down from the table, blocking my path. You've been quiet lately, he says, his grin widening. I was starting to think maybe you forgot how to speak. Get out of my way, Parker, I say, trying to keep my voice steady, but it wavers. He notices. Nah, he says, stepping closer, his voice lowering so only I can hear. I don't think so. You don't get to walk away from me. I try to push past him, but he grabs my arm, yanking me back. The room goes still, everyone watching. I can feel Zach's eyes burning into my back, but I don't dare look at him. "You know what I think?" Adam Parker says, his voice soft but dangerous. "I think you need to be reminded of your place." And then, before I can even react, Parker grabs me by the front of my shirt and kisses me. The world stops. The cafeteria erupts into shocked gasps and whispers, but all I can feel is Parker's grip on me, his lips pressed hard against mine. My brain short-circuits, too stunned to move. It's not gentle. It's not anything close to what a kiss should be. It's possessive, a show of power, of control. And when he pulls back, he's smirking like he's won something. "You don't get to leave," he whispers in my ear, loud enough for me to hear but quiet enough that the rest of the cafeteria only sees the aftermath. I stumble back, my mind reeling. My face burns with humiliation and my stomach churns with confusion, anger, and something darker I don't want to name. I look over at Zach, his fists are clenched, eyes blazing with fury. But I can't stay here. I shove past Parker, feeling every set of eyes on me, and bolt out of the cafeteria, the walls closing in around me. I don't stop until I'm outside, gasping for air, trying to process what the hell just happened. Footsteps follow, and I don't need to look to know it's Zach. He stops a few feet away, letting me breathe, but his voice is tight with barely contained anger. "Adam, are you okay?" I shake my head, unable to speak, my hands trembling. Zach takes a step closer, his voice softer now. "You don't have to face this alone anymore." I don't answer because I don't know how. All I know is that everything just changed, and I'm not sure what to do next. I don't know how long I've been sitting out here, leaning against the brick wall of the school. Everything feels off, like the world tilted sideways after Parker kissed me. I keep replaying it in my head, the shock, the heat of his lips, the way he smirked like it was a game. But it wasn't a game for me. I feel sick, trapped in the confusion of it all. Zach stands a few feet away, arms crossed, watching me. He hasn't said anything since we left the cafeteria, just giving me space, but I can feel the tension rolling off him. I finally manage to speak, my voice raw. "Why the hell did he do that?" Zach steps closer, his jaw tight. "Control. Power wasn't about you, it was about making sure you know he still owns you in his mind." I clench my fists, anger bubbling beneath the surface. "He doesn't own me. He wants you to think he does." Zach crouches down next to me, his eyes locked on mine, "but you know that kiss wasn't real. It wasn't about feelings. It was about control." I swallow hard, the weight of the moment crashing down on me. I don't know what's worse, the fact that Parker kissed me or the fact that a part of me, a tiny part one hate, still feels something for him. I don't say it out loud, but Zach must see it on my face. "He's messing with your head, Adam, don't let him." His voice is soft but fierce, and I can tell he's holding back a storm of anger for my sake. I shake my head, my emotions all over the place. "I don't get it, Zach, we were best friends. He's the last person I ever thought would do this to me." Zach looks away for a moment, his fists clenched. Sometimes the people closest to us hurt us the most. He stands up, pacing a few steps. "But that doesn't mean you have to let him keep doing it." I stay silent, unsure of what to say. How do I fight something that feels so twisted? Zach comes back and sits beside me, his shoulder brushing mine. "You don't have to make sense of it all right now, but you can't let him win. He's pushing you because he wants to break you." I grit my teeth, pushing back the rising tide of confusion and anger. "He almost did." "But he didn't," Zach says firmly. "You're still standing, and I'm still here." I look at him, his face serious but not angry anymore. There's a calm in his eyes that steadies me, like he's the one solid thing I can hold on to in the middle of this chaos. I don't know what to do, I admit, my voice low. Zach leans back against the wall, looking up at the sky. "You don't have to know everything right now, but you can't run from it either." We face him head on. I scoff. "Face him? You saw what he did back there? He's got the whole school watching, waiting for his next move." Zach's eyes harden. "That kiss, that wasn't Parker's final move. He's planning something bigger. And when he does, we'll be ready." I want to believe him, but part of me is terrified. Parker's not going to stop just because I stand up to him once. He's been escalating. And this kiss, it's just another step towards something worse. But as I sit there, Zach beside me, I realize I'm not the same scared kid I was before. Not entirely. Okay, I say, more to myself than to Zach. We face him. Zach nods, his expression serious. Together. The word hangs between us, heavy but comforting. Strange having someone say that to me and actually mean it. But there's no time to unpack all of that now. Parker's still out there, waiting to strike again, and I need to be ready. Zach stands, offering me a hand. I take it, pulling myself up. As we walk back toward the school, the weight of what just happened still clings to me. But for the first time, I feel like I might be able to handle it. Whatever Parker throws at me next, I won't be alone. The next day, I walk into school expecting the worst. My stomach is in knots, and my head's buzzing with all the whispers I know are coming. Parker's kiss hasn't just blown up my life, it's lit the whole school on fire. But when I step into the hall, it's not whispers that hit me, it's silence. Every eye is on me, students clustered by lockers, leaning against walls, all pretending not to stare but failing miserably. My skin prickles, and I try to focus on the floor, on keeping my breathing steady. Zach walks beside me, calm and unfazed, his presence a quiet shield. I keep moving, trying to ignore the tension. Parker's not around, but I know that's temporary. He'll show up soon enough, and when he does, this whole situation will explode again. The only question is, what's his next move? We make it to my locker, and as I fumble with the combination, Zach leans against the wall, watching the hallway like he's ready for a fight. Everyone's waiting, he mutters, keeping his voice low, for Parker or for you. I slam the locker shut, frustration bubbling up. Yeah, well, I'm not playing his game. Good, Zach says, glancing at me. But he's not done. You know that? I nod, my throat tight. I know Parker well enough to understand that yesterday wasn't the end, it was the beginning. He kissed me in front of everyone to humiliate me, to make me question myself. And now he's probably working on the next move to crush me completely. The morning passes in a blur of tension, the stares never letting up. By lunchtime, my nerves are shot, but I force myself to head to the cafeteria. I can't hide forever. The second I step inside, I feel it. Parker's there, sitting at his usual table, surrounded by his crew. He doesn't even look at me, but I can feel his presence like a weight pressing down on my chest. He's too quiet, too calm, and that makes my heart race. Zach walks beside me, his eyes sweeping the room, ready for anything. I find a seat at the far end of the cafeteria, trying to stay as far from Parker's table as possible, but the moment I sit down, I hear it. The laughter. Parker's crew starts chuckling, loud enough for everyone to hear. The room feels like it's holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. I don't look at them, don't give them the satisfaction, but my hands are shaking, gripping my tray like it's the only third. Then, Parker speaks, loud enough for the whole cafeteria to hear. Hey, Adam, you're ready for round 2. The words slice through the air like a knife, and my whole body tenses. He's baiting me, trying to get a reaction. I don't give him one. I stare at my tray, my heart pounding in my ears. But then Zach stands up. I freeze, looking up at him, and before I can say anything, he starts walking, straight toward Parker. Zach, I whisper, but he doesn't stop. He crosses the room in long, determined strides, every eye in the cafeteria glued to him. The tension is so thick it's suffocating. Parker leans back in his chair, a smirk playing on his lips as Zach approaches. You want to take his place, new guy, Parker sneers, his crew chuckling around him. Zach stops right in front of Parker's table, his eyes locked on Parker's. You think you're funny, Parker. Parker's smirk widens. I think I'm winning. Zach doesn't even flinch. You think that kiss made you look powerful? It made you look desperate. The cafeteria goes dead silent. Parker's smirk falters for a split second, and I see the flicker of anger flash in his eyes, but he covers it up fast, leaning forward with a sneer. You don't know what you're talking about. Zach crosses his arms, completely unfazed. I know exactly what I'm talking about. You're scared. Scared that you've lost control over Adam, so you pull some sick stunt to remind him of his place. Parker's crew shifts uncomfortably, and I see a few of them exchange glances. Parker's jaw tightens, but he still tries to play it cool. You've got some nerve, talking like you know anything. I know enough, Zach says, his voice calm, unshaken. And I know this, whatever you're trying to do, it's not working. Adam's done being scared of you. My heart pounds louder than ever, and suddenly everyone's looking at me. I can feel their eyes, feel the weight of the moment. But this time it's different. It's not fear anymore, it's something stronger, something that's been building ever since Zach showed up. I stand, my legs trembling, but I force myself to move. Step by step, I cross the cafeteria until I'm standing beside Zach, facing Parker. My throat is dry, and my heart feels like it's going to burst out of my chest. But I meet Parker's eyes, and for the first time in a long time, I don't look away. You're right, Parker, I say, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. This isn't over. But you don't get to decide what happens next. The cafeteria holds its breath, waiting for Parker's reaction. For a moment, his face is blank, unreadable. Then, slowly, he stands up, his smirk gone, replaced with something darker, more dangerous. We'll see, he mutters, his voice low, before turning and walking out of the cafeteria, his crew trailing behind him. The tension breaks, and the cafeteria erupts into whispers. I stand there, my heart racing, the weight of what just happened crashing down on me. Zach looks over at me, his expression unreadable. You okay? I nod, but I'm not sure what just happened. All I know is that something shifted. Parker's still out there, still planning something, but this time I'm not alone. And I'm not backing down. The hallways buzz with whispers the next day. Everyone's talking about the showdown in the cafeteria. Parker walking away, me standing up for myself. But the tension hasn't gone anywhere, it's just simmering under the surface, waiting to boil over. Zach meets me at my locker like usual, his expression calm. But there's a tension between us now. It's not anger, not awkwardness, just something unspoken, something I haven't had the courage to address yet. How are you holding up, he asks, leaning casually against the lockers, but his eyes are studying me, checking for cracks. I shrug, as well as I can. Parker's been quiet, too quiet. Zach nods, his jaw tight. He's planning something. You know that, right? I nod. Of course I know, it's been gnawing at me since yesterday, the weight of Parker's next move hanging over my head. But for the first time, I'm not afraid of it. I've stood up to him once, and I know I can do it again. We'll deal with it, I say, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounds. Zach's eyes flicker with something approval, maybe. Yeah, we will. But there's something else hanging in the air between us, something that's been there ever since Zach started sticking around. I can't keep ignoring it, but I'm terrified of what'll happen when I face it head on. We walk to class together in silence, but the unspoken tension only grows. After school, I'm ready to bolt home, but Zach catches my arm before I can slip away. Hey, you want to grab something to eat, he asks, his voice casual, but there's a seriousness in his eyes. I hesitate, my heart doing that annoying flip it's been doing around him lately. Sure. We head to the local diner, a quiet spot where we can sit in the corner without half the school watching us. The moment we sit down, though, the silence feels heavier than ever. Zach's not the type to beat around the bush. And I know something's coming, I just don't know what. After a few minutes of awkward small talk, Zach leans forward, his expression serious. Adam, we need to talk about something. My stomach tightens. About Parker. He shakes his head. No, about us. There it is, the thing I've been avoiding. My pulse spikes and I glance away, pretending to focus on my drink. What about us? Zach takes a deep breath, his eyes never leaving mine. I've been trying to ignore it, but there's something between us, Adam, you feel it too, don't you? I freeze, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew this moment was coming, but now that it's here, I don't know what to say. My head's a mess, Parker. The kiss, everything. But then there's Zach, who's been steady and solid through all of it. And the feelings I've been trying to push down keep rising to the surface. The words catch in my throat, and I finally force myself to look at him. I don't know. It's complicated. Zach's expression softens, but he doesn't back off. It doesn't have to be. I'm not Parker, Adam. I'm not here to mess with your head or play games. I care about you. The weight of those words hits me hard, and I suddenly feel exposed, like every wall I built around myself is crumbling. I don't want to get hurt again, I admit, my voice barely above a whisper. Zach reaches across the table, his hand resting on mine, grounding me. I'm not going to hurt you. You don't have to trust me all at once, but I'm not going anywhere. I stare at his hand on mine, the warmth of his touch sinking into my skin. It's not overwhelming like Parker's kiss was, it's steady, safe. And that's what scares me the most. After a moment, I nod. Okay. Zach's smile is small but genuine. Okay. We sit there for a while, not saying much, but the air between us feels lighter. It's not perfect, not tied up with a neat little bow, but it's something. For the first time in what feels like forever, I don't feel like I'm drowning. But that peace is short-lived. As we leave the diner, I spot Parker across the street, leaning against a car, watching us. My stomach drops. His eyes lock onto mine, and there's something dangerous in the way he's smiling, something that says this isn't over. Zach notices him too, his body tensing beside me. He's not done. No, I agree, my heart racing. He's not. Parker doesn't move, doesn't say anything. He just watches like he's waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But this time, I'm ready. Zach's hand brushes against mine, a silent reminder that I'm not alone. I take a deep breath, steadying myself. Whatever Parker has planned, I'll face it. We'll face it. Together. The war with Parker isn't over, but I've got something now I didn't have before: hope, and I'm not letting Parker take that from me. As we walk away, Parker's gaze burning into my back, I know this fight is far from finished, but I'm not afraid anymore. I'm ready.